just deal with questions that maybe are directed to the Treasury, and I know the line minister is even more competent to deal with almost everything, including the funding, because he's the one who asks or requests for the funding. But let me just touch on some of these issues that have been raised. First, let me start with where is my PS? Chair, the invite was specifically to the CS, and I decided to accompany myself with the technical team for my ministry, and I feel I'm competent enough without my PS to address the issues that are raised. So I didn't see the need to involve my PS here because he had other assignments also to carry out. So it was not that my PS has ignored coming. He was not invited, and I equally didn't invite him. The questions raised by Honorable Mboko Mlamba, just actually one that I want to deal with. The inconsistency between the expectations and the budget. You see, Chair, I want to be very candid here. The full amount that is budgeted is released. Maybe with small discrepancy on one budget line. I need to check why we paid less, because there's a figure there of about 97%. But we release the full amount. And by the way, we release money to the Ministry for Capitation way early. I have just sampled, and I've seen for term 1, JSS we released on 20th of January, 2025. That's 50% of the budget. And I wanted to really speak to that, because I think that is what is bringing a lot of contention. We released the money for the FPE also on 20th of January. The 3-day secondary school education capitation, 50%, was released in 2 tranches. So we first released part of the 50% on January 28th, and the remaining the half we released on 12th of March. So that is the only one where we released half the allocation for term 1. For term 2, we released funds on 19th of May, and yet the term started in May. So for term 2 is 30%. Yeah. Now, the inconsistency comes about because of the amount we provide is less than the expectation. That is the truth. If
yes,
you take...
CS, just clarify.
Yes.
You have released 80%. 50 plus 30.
For 2025?
Yes.
Yes.
80%.
Yes.
So 80% of 22,000 is how much?
No, that is what I want to clarify. It is 80% of the budget. The budgets cannot support the 22,000 shillings. And, Honorable Chair, you know it is Parliament that passes the budget. And you can take the figures and calculate. And I say, you see, the problem is we live a lie. Let me put it this way, and I've been around here. President Kibaki started the free primary education. Then President Uhuru, actually Kibaki never attempted free secondary education. President Uhuru came with the subsidized. It was supposed to be subsidized secondary education. Then somehow he escalated it to free. We don't have the capacity as at now to finance free primary, free secondary. And I will explain to you. If you check our debt repayment 5 years ago, it was very low. Today,
yes, 1 minute, please.
I'm following Honorable and CS Mbadi with my 3rd year, and he has done very well. For the first time, and press, I hope you're following, we've been told 50% has been released in full, and that 30% has been released in full. I would wish...
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Iro first, please.
Thank you, Chair. CS Treasury, you did say that you've provided for 2.34 billion to have 20,000 intern teachers recruited in 2026. I just want to know whether you've also provided funds to confirm the current interns, because, and thank you, because by sign language you've told me you've not. CS, you are aware that your colleague CS was taken to court and the ministry and TSC for extending internship beyond 1 year. The current contract with the interns out there is for 1 year. Therefore, if we do not provide for those funds, we'll be in breach of the law. And therefore, and we need to describe exactly whether internship is proper employment or just a stopgap measure towards employment. What plans do you have for the interns who are currently serving, whose internship contract ends December this year? For the capitation, for over 5 years, you've never met the 22,000 that's provided for. Why always come to this committee telling us that you've provided for 22,000, yet knowing very well that you've never been able, you are not able? Why not use the average of the figures that you disburse and tell the schools that the money allocated to you is 10,000, so they're able to plan? Because the ministries, both Treasury and Education, are jointly participating in the collapse of the education sector. Lastly, I would like to, or before that, the private university debt that you owe. Are you aware that a number of students in the private universities who are placed there under government sponsorship have been forced to drop out because the universities, knowing that the government is not paying, have gone to credit the students' accounts in their portals? So a student who thought is supposed to pay 20,000 finds in their portal a bill of 200,000. And most of them have been forced to drop out. A good example is students of nursing, Mount Kenya University. A number of them have dropped out. Lastly, CS education. What my colleague has said is a matter that needs to be interrogated deeply. It is not hearsay, it's not rumors. The ministry is disbursing funds to non-existent schools, and in a very inequitable way when it comes to the spread of this country. We are having schools that don't exist receiving money for infrastructure. Therefore, it means when it goes to capitation, the same schools again will receive money for students who do not exist. You are running a ministry that should be rebranded to be called a cartel. And we can't sit here every time asking for details, and it is always postponed. Can we have the details sought for? And can you give us the time frame under which this information will be given to the public? We cannot have a government that keeps telling us that the fiscal space is constrained, there is no money, but the activities on Fridays in this country show us the exact opposite. It's our priorities that are misplaced. That is what we need to fix. Thank you, Chair.
Very, very sad person here today, because I was a teacher for a very long time. And when I see how we are being taken like merry-go-round in this house, it is very saddening. The CS of Education has said that they have been trying to make sure that the budgeted allocation of 22,244 per student is released. But for the last 7 years,
it has never been released as 22,000. The last time we were doing the budget policy statement, I asked the peers whether we should budget for 22 or 17. And initially agreed that the government cannot meet the 22 and therefore we budget for 17. But when we came to the budget estimates, we again found that he had put 22,000 in the budget estimates. Now, where is this money going? And if it is not reaching schools, then why can't the ministry be bold and tell the schools that they should not budget for 22,000 and they budget either of 17 or 15,000? Because our schools are closing down. A country without schools cannot run. And now we are here with the Ministry of Education. First, where is your PS? Why would you come here without a accounting officer of the ministry? Because he is where these blames fall. When the Treasury has released the funds and comes to the PS, then he gives the money to schools which does not exist, the cartel in the ministry. He should be here to explain to the Kenyans, because this is a public office. Where is this? Where is the PS of the Treasury? Where is the PS of the Ministry of Education? I can see the PS of TVET is here. We cannot have PS who are bigger than the CSs in this country. If you cannot support the Ministry of Education, if our kids cannot go to school, then why are we here? Now, second question. The new funding model, which is also sometimes student-centered model. We went to the HELP, we went to the university funding. They told us that this is going to change the lives of the students at the university. The DUC, the differentiated unit cost, has now been removed. But our first-year students and second-year students have not been funded. This year, they are reporting in September. The variables and the parameters used in the new funding model are defective. They are defective because people who are able can be found to be in the band 1, and those who are unable are found in band 5. When the formula used in the new funding model was brought to us, I took my case, my own son, who is in the university, and filled, and we found out that he was now in band 3, and I can pay the fees. Why would my child be put in band 3 and I'm able to pay the fees? It means that the weighted units put on these variables are defective. So as we are going now to admit the university students in first year, can you tell us whether these new funding models, you have now brought in the variables which are not defective and the parameters used are going to serve our Kenyans? Thank you.
So, Chair, actually, there's really little to add on to that issue. I've given the answer, the reason why there's discrepancy between what actually goes to the school vis-a-vis, the entire budget is disbursed, but the number of children are more. So it means if you take per capita or the per child allocation and you multiply by the number of children, you will get a higher figure, which is not in the budget. Secondly, policy informs the budget. And so we try as much as possible to meet. So, Chair, we try as much as possible to meet the provisions of the policy. Now, as to what we need to do to be able to fund education in this country properly, I want to just say something, and it may rattle the honorable members, but that is the truth. That these monies that we have all over the place, we could consolidate them. For example, if you give me back NGCDF, give me 40% that you have allocated to bursaries, give it back to me. It is going to be over 20 billion, 22. Give it back to me. And
It's going to disappear at the ministry.
I add it to capitation.
No, it will
No, we
disappear
are
at the
looking for
ministry.
solution.
Order.
We are actually looking for solution.
We have seen it before.
Already you are
We have seen it before.
You see
Honorable
it,
Orero.
No,
Let me just
we know what happens because we have been there.
That's why you have been funding ghost schools.
be sure that we finance the children of Kenya without any school fee being paid. Just give it back to me, and I add it to the capitation. That's what I'm requesting.
Not through the ministry.
Now let me answer the other issues. I think the others were for my colleague, for Imase. Why has the funds infrastructure not reached schools? I want to say again.
Let's allow him to go through and then we'll just come back.
Let me just move quickly. I think my colleague will answer the rest, if you allow me. On why the funds have not reached the schools, I think the CS Education will address us. Funding universities, Presidential Working Party, am I aware that the committee does not recognize? I am not. Actually, if there is a problem with it, with the report, it has not been made aware to me. So the moment
Not a problem,
It's
Chair.
not the problem with the committee. What the member said, that report has never been tabled in Parliament. It has never been adopted by Parliament. Therefore, it cannot be used in any parliamentary proceeding.
Okay. So